Have you ever felt that the more you share your plans with others, the less they take shape? There is a silent truth that few understand. The greatest leaps in life occur when you choose to evolve in silence. The energy of envy, even from those you least expect, can block paths that were ready to open. Everything in the universe is vibration. And when you start investing in yourself, reading, meditating, exercising, improving your appearance and awareness, your frequency rises and new opportunities begin to appear. But this movement must be sacred, reserved, and silent. It is in that silence that you align with the divine will, let go of the ego and fleeting desires, and connect with what truly matters, your spiritual expansion. Comment below, "My evolution is silent and sacred," and let that affirmation resonate within you, opening the doors to a new reality. To understand why silence is so powerful in the process of personal and spiritual evolution, we must look at the teachings of one of the most brilliant and enigmatic minds of our time, Jacobo Grinberg. A neuroscientist and consciousness researcher, Grinberg dedicated his life to investigating how the human mind creates the reality we live in. According to him, the external world is not something fixed or objective, but rather a direct projection of our perceptual structure. In other words, what you think, feel, and believe shapes your reality. Grinberg discovered that there is a neuronal field, a vibrational and energetic matrix that responds to the quality of our thoughts and intentions. When you choose to grow in silence, free from external interference, you protect your frequency from distortions and noise that could alter your connection to this field. Thus, silence is not merely the absence of words, but a spiritual shield. It allows your energy to organize, rise, and align with the divine will. This practice, combined with detaching from the ego, caring for yourself, and expanding your consciousness, creates a new type of reality, a life guided by purpose, inner peace, and spiritual clarity. Silence is a sacred territory. In a noisy world full of opinions, judgments, and external clamor, choosing silence is an act of courage and wisdom. It is not just about refraining from speaking, but about nurturing an inner silence, where the ego quiets and the consciousness begins to speak. When you embark on a journey of self-development, whether to improve your appearance, your body, your mind, or your spiritual connection, your natural instinct may be to share it with those around you. After all, we are used to seeking approval, but it is precisely at that point that many transformations are blocked before they can even solidify. Jacobo Grinberg maintained that when the mind enters deep silence, it comes into direct contact with the neuronal field where all possibilities exist. It is in that state that you truly shape your reality. By talking too much about your plans, you expose them to external vibrations, often dissonant with what you are trying to build. It isn't always out of malice, but the energy of doubt, comparison, or even others' skepticism can interfere with your frequency, unbalancing the field you're trying to harmonize. Moreover, silence serves a practical purpose. It protects you from self-sabotage. When you speak of something still in its embryonic phase within you, your ego might feel that it has already been accomplished. This weakens the internal drive to move forward. How many times have you shared a plan or goal with someone, felt that initial surge of euphoria, and then days later abandoned it all? This happens because the mind confuses the enthusiasm of expression with the achievement itself. Silence avoids that error and keeps you focused on action rather than the appearance of action. True growth is silent. Just as a seed germinates in the quiet beneath the earth, your evolution occurs when no one is watching. When you choose to grow without announcing it, you are telling the universe, "I don't need to prove anything, I just am." And that changes everything. Your energy concentrates, your discipline strengthens, and your intuition sharpens. You begin to notice signs, synchronicities, and small miracles that previously went unnoticed. Silence is also a mirror. In it, you begin to hear your inner voice more clearly. The mind calms, the heart speaks louder, and the soul finds space to express itself. In that space, more aligned decisions are made, wiser paths are taken, and your connection with the divine is strengthened. So, the next time you feel the urge to share your plans, take a deep breath and turn inward. Honor the process. Grow in silence. Evolve without announcement. In due time, the fruits will speak for themselves. Few people understand the vibrational force of envy. Contrary to what many believe, it does not need to be accompanied by malicious words or explicit gestures. Envy is a subtle, often silent energy born from comparison, lack, and resentment, and it can come from someone smiling by your side, yet harboring an unconscious resistance to your evolution. That is why silence becomes a spiritual protection. When you keep your projects, changes, and achievements secret, you shield yourself from these dissonant frequencies. Every energy has a frequency, and envy vibrates on a dense, slow spectrum that pulls you downward. When someone envies you, even without stating it, that vibration attempts to interfere with your energetic field. And if you are emotionally vulnerable, uncentered, or anxious for external approval, that energy can find a gap and settle in. That's why many promising plans simply dissolve without any apparent explanation. Something was going well, and suddenly, everything stopped. The vibration changed. Jacobo Grinberg explained that reality is not fixed, but a constantly shifting field, molded by the mental and emotional waves we emit. When you are excited about a new idea, transformation, or even a simple decision to change habits, your vibration rises. But by exposing that to people not on the same frequency, the field falls out of harmony. The energy of envy, even when disguised as curiosity or concern, acts as a countercurrent, diverting the natural flow you had activated. This does not mean you should live in fear or distrust of others. The secret is not to feed paranoia, but to cultivate discernment. Not everything needs to be said. Not everyone needs to know. There is power in reserve. There is wisdom in protecting what is still under construction. And above all, there is peace in trusting that your journey does not need validation from anyone. Reserve is a spiritual virtue. When you choose to be quiet about your actions, you are saying to the universe, "My strength does not depend on the gaze of others." This reinforces your self-confidence, strengthens your inner connection, and creates a purer magnetic field around you. You become more centered, lucid, and aware. And over time, you attract people who vibrate on the same frequency, those who do not compete or compare, but collaborate. So protect your processes. Let the results speak for you. The less you expose, the more you preserve, and the more you preserve, the stronger your energy becomes. Grow quietly, flourish in peace, and let the universe take care of showing the world what you have cultivated with so much love, silence, and purpose. Your energy is not transformed randomly. It is shaped every day by the small habits you cultivate in silence. And here is one of the most ignored truths. There is no miracle without corresponding energetic action. In other words, if you want to raise your frequency, attract opportunities, and live with greater spiritual clarity, you must align your daily practices with that intention. The universe responds to what you vibrate, not just what you wish for. It all starts with the awareness of your routine. How many times have you felt tired, discouraged, or trapped in repetitive cycles? The answer often lies in what you do every day, and more importantly, in what you choose not to do. Simple practices like meditating, walking outdoors, reading a good book, taking care of your appearance with care and silence, choosing your words more consciously, and even slowing down your mind are transformative, not because they in themselves change your life, but because they alter your energetic frequency. Jacobo Grinberg reminds us that reality is a hologram shaped by perception. This means that by changing your vibrational state, you automatically begin to see new possibilities, new solutions, and new paths. It's as if you switch stations on a radio. What was once just static now tunes into a gentle, powerful melody that guides you. Conscious practices work like tuning tools for your vibration. Meditation, for example, is not merely a moment of silence. It is a dive into your own essence, where the noise of the ego dissolves and the inner truth emerges. When you walk or run outdoors, you reconnect your body with the Earth's energetic field, releasing tensions and absorbing the planet's natural frequency. By reading an uplifting book, you nourish your mind with new codes, opening windows that were once closed. Even taking care of your appearance, often treated superficially, becomes a spiritual act when done with love and intention. Appearance is not vanity when it serves self-esteem and presence. When you look in the mirror and acknowledge who you see, honoring the body as the temple of consciousness, your vibration rises. It is not about pleasing others, but about aligning the external with the internal. Everything is vibration, and everything you do, even the smallest act, carries an energetic charge that either adds to or subtracts from your frequency. By turning your routine into a ritual of care, presence, and connection, you begin to emit a new energetic signature to the universe. And the return comes in the form of clearer intuitions, meaningful encounters, creative ideas, and even subtle miracles. Don't wait for great changes without consistent small actions. Every transformation begins with daily choices made in silence, with love, and with total presence. Elevate your routine, and your reality will rise along with it. There comes a point in every seeker's journey when a profound choice must be made: to continue trying to control everything with the ego, or to surrender to the divine will and allow life to reveal its natural flow. This surrender is not weakness, nor is it passivity. In fact, it is one of the most courageous and elevated acts one can practice because it demands detachment, humility, and trust. The ego always wants to prove something. It wants to be recognized, applauded, admired. It seeks quick results, comparisons, and victories. But consciousness is not in a hurry, does not compete, and does not need to appear. When you begin aligning with the divine will, you realize you are no longer chasing ego-driven goals, but are serving something greater. And it is precisely then that doors open, synchronicity occurs, and peace settles in. Jacobo Grinberg understood that consciousness is connected to a unified field, a divine intelligence that governs all things. This field does not respond to the desires of the ego, but to the frequency of the soul. To tune into it, you must let go of control, stop forcing paths, and allow life to guide you. This does not mean crossing your arms. It means acting with intuition and trust, instead of anxiety and pressure. Detaching from the ego is a liberating process. When you stop seeking external validation, you begin to live more authentically. Your choices are no longer driven by what others will think, but by what my soul truly desires. And the more you follow that inner call, the more your energy aligns with the divine will. However, the ego does not dissolve overnight. It needs to be observed, understood, and gradually re-educated. This is done through meditation, silence, sincere reflection, and choosing not to react to the provocations of the world. In this process, you learn to also let go of material possessions and external achievements, and you begin to value what money cannot buy: peace, purpose, presence, and spiritual connection. Detaching is not about denying the world, but about freeing yourself from the need for it to fill you up. When you no longer need to prove anything, you become light, and that lightness is magnetic. It attracts opportunities, people, and situations that resonate with the same harmony. The divine will does not impose itself. It comes with wisdom. It reveals itself in signs, intuitions, and the subtle movements of life. So trust. Let go of the burden of carrying everything alone. Allow the greater force that governs the universe to guide your steps. And remember, when the ego is silent, the soul begins to speak, and what it says changes everything. Few speak about this in depth, but every sexual relationship, creates a real and lasting energetic bond. Far beyond physical contact, there is an exchange of frequencies, emotions, and vibrational patterns that remain connected even after the encounter ends. This means that every person with whom you share an intimate moment leaves an energetic mark on your field, and you on theirs. When this act is done unconsciously, without discernment or spiritual connection, the consequences go far beyond momentary pleasure. Jacobo Grinberg studied intensely the influence of human relationships on the neuronal field and the construction of individual reality. He argued that every intimate contact creates an intertwining of perceptual fields. In other words, part of the other person's structure begins to influence yours. And if that person is vibrating with dense frequencies, extreme materialism, emotional neediness, negativity, or emotional confusion, those energies start to interfere with your vibration, often in a subtle, silent, but profound way. That is why, after certain encounters, many people report a drop in energy, discouragement, mental confusion, or even blockages in areas of life that were once flowing. This is not a coincidence, it's a matter of resonance. You have absorbed frequencies that were not aligned with your path. The more intense the exchange, the greater the vibrational impact. And what few people realize is that this type of bond does not automatically dissolve. It remains active in the field, sometimes for weeks, months, or even years. Therefore, the choice of whom you share your vital energy with is a spiritual matter. It is not about repression or guilt, but about vibrational responsibility. When you understand that you are in a process of raising your consciousness, you realize the need to protect your field. This includes avoiding intimate exchanges with people who do not share the same purpose, vision, or connection with the sacred. In certain spiritual contexts, chastity is not a denial of pleasure, but a tool for vibrational purification. It is the conscious choice to preserve your creative energy for something greater, a project, a work, or personal expansion. Instead of dissipating that energy in fleeting relationships, you channel it toward your growth, your connection with the divine, and your mission. Of course, this does not mean that sex should be avoided or repressed. When done with consciousness, love, and genuine spiritual connection, it becomes a portal of healing, elevation, and transcendence. But until that level of connection is reached, the wisest course is to preserve your energy. Because every time you unite with someone, you open yourself up energetically, and not everyone is prepared for that exchange. Protect your field, choose wisely who you connect with, and remember, your energy is sacred. Do not surrender what is divine to situations that only feed the ego and emptiness. Reserve it for what truly uplifts. Expanding your consciousness is not a spiritual luxury, it is the soul's mission. It is the silent purpose that resides in every human being. To awaken, remember who you are, break free from the illusion of separation, and reconnect with the whole. Yet for many, this truth remains dormant their entire lives. A conditioned mind, focus on the material world, and a wounded ego create a fog that hinders a broader perception of existence. Breaking through that fog is the beginning of true freedom. According to Jacobo Grinberg, consciousness is the creative field of reality. The more limited the perception, the narrower the reality you live in. On the other hand, when you expand your consciousness, you begin to see beyond appearances, to perceive the interconnectedness of everything, and to understand that events are not random, but resonances of your inner vibration. This understanding changes everything, how you live, act, feel, and relate to the world. Expanding consciousness begins with questioning, why am I here? What is the meaning of my life? What limits me? What moves me? These questions, when asked sincerely, open internal portals, and once opened, there is no going back. The quest for truth becomes constant. You start to consume different kinds of content, feel the need to meditate more, to embrace silence, to distance yourself from people and environments that once seemed normal but now feel empty. This is the call of awakening. It's important to understand that expanding consciousness is not a linear process. There will be days of profound clarity and others of confusion. There will be moments of spiritual euphoria and moments of inner darkness. That is all part of the process. After all, to expand, you must first break, question, and deconstruct. Everything built on illusions must be dismantled, and that can hurt, but it also heals and liberates. Silence and reserve become allies in this process because by withdrawing, you make space to listen to your soul. A noisy mind does not allow for expansion. It revolves around the same fears, demands, and desires. In contrast, a silenced mind opens doors to more subtle dimensions of reality. And it is in those silent spaces that answers begin to emerge. Not as thoughts, but as sudden understandings and undeniable intuitions. Expanding your consciousness also means becoming responsible. You realize that every action, thought, and emotion creates a wave that reverberates through the field. Therefore, you begin to act with more presence, ethics, and compassion. This is not religiosity, it is lucidity. You understand that everything is connected and that what you do to others returns to you. What you vibrate builds your path. The mission is clear: to break free from the prison of ignorance and inhabit a state of presence. And that happens day by day with intention, practices, silence, and a real desire to transform yourself. Because when you expand your consciousness, you not only change your life, you change the world around you. Living with purpose is about moving with direction, meaning, and presence. Yet in a world that values likes, applause, and constant recognition, staying true to your path without seeking external validation has become a spiritual challenge. Most people act to be seen, noticed, and to prove they are making it. But living with true purpose means doing what needs to be done even when no one is watching. Walking firmly even in silence without the need for applause. External validation is a subtle trap of the ego. It seems harmless, but gradually it diverts you from yourself. You start shaping your life to please others, to meet expectations, and to avoid criticism. Before you know it, you stop living your mission and instead live the image others have created of you. This creates a deep vibrational disconnect because your energetic field no longer reflects your essence, but a fabricated persona. Jacobo Grinberg spoke about the importance of staying aligned with one's inner truth. He understood that reality is built on perception, and when you live trying to please, your perception gets contaminated. You begin to see the world not as it is, but as you believe others want it to be, and that distances you from your center, intuition, and peace. Living with purpose requires courage. It requires the silence of those who know they are on the right path, even if no one understands. It requires detachment from the need to be praised, accepted, or applauded. Because true confirmation comes from within, from that unshakable feeling of being exactly where you are meant to be, doing exactly what you must do, even if everything outside seems uncertain. And the more you become silent, the more you hear the voice of your spirit. The less you seek validation, the more you find authenticity, and the more authentically you live, the more life aligns with your purpose. This does not mean living in isolation, but rather consciously. You can be among many, yet remain centered within yourself. You can listen to advice without straying from your true north. You may even change direction, but always guided by your inner voice, not the clamor of the world. The true reward of living with purpose is not fame, success, or applause. It is the peace of knowing that you are faithful to your soul. It is waking up every day with gratitude, aware that each step reflects the truest part of who you are. And that peace, that coherence, that presence is priceless. It is the foundation of true freedom. When you align with that state, life responds. What is yours will come, what is not will fade away. And you move forward, without noise, without haste, without having to justify yourself. Because those who live with purpose do not need to convince anyone. Their presence speaks for itself. Now that you understand the power of growing in silence, protecting your energy, and aligning your life with the divine will, it's time to act. But remember, this action does not need to be loud. It does not need to be shared, explained, or validated. It just needs to be felt, lived, and sustained by you with presence and intention. Start today. Choose a practice. Meditate in silence. Read a book that uplifts your soul. Care for your body with love. Or write a project with calm and focus. But do it for you, by you, and keep it a secret. Allow the universe to witness your silent commitment and reward your consistency with opportunities that align with your new vibration. If this video resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and activate notifications to continue receiving content that strengthens you on this path of expansion. And share this video with someone who also needs to embrace silence in order to grow. Leave in the comments the phrase, "My evolution is silent and sacred." In doing so, you anchor that vibration in your life and inspire other awakened souls to do the same. The world doesn't need to know what you're doing, but it will notice who you are becoming.